Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Rack Coach. We got Kyle on today. Kyle, how are you doing? Can you introduce yourself to the clinic? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get going talking about speed.
Morning, Coach. Appreciate you having me on. So my name's Kyle Jacksic. I'm the Director of Strength and Conditioning at Ardrey High School down in Charlotte, North Carolina, south side of Charlotte. 4A school. It's I believe the second largest high school in the state of North Carolina at just under 3,600 kids. So within our football program, we reach about 140 between our JV and varsity programs. I came from Ardrey from Cannon School up in Concord, North Carolina. Before then, I was at Davidson College part-time as well as part-time at Cannon School. I've done strength and conditioning my whole career. This is what I went to school for. I've been able to be exposed. So I was at Davidson College. I was with Clemson University with the basketball program there. I was with the football program at University at Buffalo under Coach Lance Leipold and Matt Gildersleeve, who's now obviously the staff at University of Kansas. That I was on that staff while I was in grad school, and then worked in the private sector coaching. I'm originally from a super small town in Northwest New Jersey. I was a 3-sport student athlete at Blair Academy. My main sport was wrestling, but played football and baseball. Ended up getting hurt in high school, broke my neck in 3 places, which is a daunting thing. But if anyone knows Blair Academy wrestling, like that comes with a pretty big name. Ended up playing baseball in college. Actually went to Lynchburg College, to me, what is now the University of Lynchburg in Virginia, and just kind of like bounced around up and down the East Coast. And I've landed here at Ardrey, as well as I serve as state director for the NHSSCA and for the state of North Carolina.
That's awesome, Coach. My girlfriend's from Rock Hill. She's from Northwestern High School, so I know a little bit, but not a lot about the Charlotte area. So looking forward to hearing you speak. I'm going to share your screen, Coach.
Sweet.
You got it, Coach. Speed development and maintenance in season.
Yep. So when Coach Taylor reached out to me to kind of be on the show, I wanted to be able to speak on what we feel sets our program apart. So although that we are at such a large high school here in the Charlotte area, we struggle with getting super high skilled kids compared to some of the teams that we play against. So with Ardrey, we want to level the playing field any way that we can. For the most part, you can find a lot of coaches out there, whether they're sport coaches, strength coaches, or just some random guy that just did a little bit of research. They can do a pretty good job of getting kids strong. But for us, I think our speed program can level the playing field where we may lack in skill. We may not always have as much Division I level talent as the teams that we play against. So I figured kind of talking on speed today of just really simple things that we're able to do throughout the season that can kind of progress our program as well as develop kids throughout, because especially when you're coaching at the high school level and we're seeing the growth over 4 years, like a 14-year-old boy compared to an 18-year-old boy, and we can call them boys for now, young gentlemen, is obviously a pretty big difference. So being able to develop across the 4 years and maybe not losing the 3 to 4 months that we're quote unquote in season in terms of development is super important to me and a big part of our program here at Ardrey. So when I got hired here at Ardrey, we were the only high school in the state of North Carolina with a full-time strength and conditioning program. So for me, I'm the strength and conditioning coach for all of our sports. I'm not just our football guy, but our football program puts major investment in me and is a big reason why I'm here. So we spend a lot of time with them. We train them 4 days in the summer. They have a full speed program, conditioning program, warm-up program from us, as well as we run the strength and conditioning side. But to be brutally honest, if you want to learn about strength, I'm probably not your guy. But today we're going to be talking speed and how we develop and maintain that in season. So really, like, the purpose of today and the purpose that I want to bring to all the listeners is learning how we take track and field concepts and bring them to other sports, but more so this case football, in order to develop faster, more explosive athletes and not fall off during the season. For the most part, when we're looking at a football program, we don't want to be the best version of ourselves in August. We want to be the best version of ourselves in November and December. So we'll kind of talk through the little things that we do that can kind of level the playing field for us, as well as just develop us throughout the year. So a little bit of our school of thought, how and when to program specific drills and warm-ups during practice and weight room training. So how we go about that, and just making simple checklists, and we can get into kind of the technology side of stuff, and that's kind of like where I'll close. So to start, like I love this quote, and if you're interested in learning about speed training and a lot of the concepts that we talk about today, Altis, ALTIS, is a great resource. They have tons of free content out there, tons of courses online that I highly, highly, highly suggest. I think a lot of the strength coaches that deal with football are turning to the Altis system. Although Altis background is in track and field concepts, we're able to apply those concepts to team sports. So this is a Stu McMillan quote that we kind of live off of, that team sport athletes are going to run differently than sprinters, but it's important to understand the rules of acceleration, upright sprinting before allowing their sport to show them how to break those rules. So those rules to us is what we consider constraints. So really the only major difference in my eyes between track sprinting and sport is the constraints. So we see the little video on the right of Breece Hall at Iowa State. Tremendous college football player, and I think he's going to be a tremendous NFL running back as well, who lives with speed, but lives with the simplicity of putting his foot on the ground and getting north and south. Because one of the slides that we'll go into later is that in the end goal of our sport, it's the team who scores the most. And the fastest way is going to be a straight line. So I need to make sure that my student athletes understand those concepts in order for us to be successful. So although that the track running that we see on the left is a straight line and we're just literally racing to the end, we can take that and take that same concept and same idea and bring that to the sport of football. So who wins the game? Most of our sports have that common goal: score more or be the first to a specific place. And to me, the fastest way between 2 points, whether you're a math teacher, a strength coach, a history teacher, for the most part, is a straight line. So for us, we want to be able to leave guys in the dust. We want to be able to hit a hole and be able to pull away. If I can throw a slant route and break between the safeties and just beat them to the end zone, that's going to make us more successful. So for us who aren't gifted with a whole lot of skill at all times, we need to set ourselves apart by being fastest as well as staying fastest throughout the game. To me, the best teams in the fourth quarter are not always the best conditioned. It's the team that drops off the least in speed. If I'm able to be faster than the other team in the fourth quarter, hopefully I'm going to be able to complement the football side of stuff in order to either pull away in the end or set the tone, come back from a deficit, pull away in a tied game, so on and so forth. So a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about today is just an overview of our speed program and how we apply it and what benefits I really feel like it brings to all of us. So who wins the season? The healthiest team that has been able to withstand and even progress kind of what I've talked about before during the season will be more successful. So how can we do that as coaches? Knowing that our end goal, and if you're on here, your end goal is obviously to win, but probably to win the last game that you play, aka if you can make it all the way to the state championship and take a ring home, you probably want to start there. We don't always think about winning the first one. We always want to think about winning the last one. So that's what in the strength and conditioning field we consider reverse engineering our program. So for us, as the season progresses, we don't necessarily need to add more. We don't have to add more throughout the season. More is not always better. Consistency is. I've recently gotten into golf, and I think any coach has some level of hobbies. So I like the 10,000 hours principle here. The more that I do something and the more consistent that I am with it, hopefully I'm going to be more successful. So we want to expose our kids to consistent training that is a consistent concept, drills that are common to them, because the more that I do something, probably the better that I'm going to be in the end. As well as for us, we want to adapt to the nervous system. The deeper into the season that we go, the more stress that these student athletes, our team members, are under. Just think of your stress as a coach, and then the kids are dictated by their win and loss record as well. So as the stress goes up and the going gets tough and you're fighting for playoff seeding and conference championships and regional championships and hopefully a state title, that's a lot of stress on a kid. So being able to dial back later into the year, give them what we can consider the minimal effective dose, will hopefully bring us more success. And then we'll go through kind of near the back end of this presentation of how we make our own checklists. So for me, not only just in the sport of football, but in all of our coaches, we have weekly checklists that we are trying to hit to not drop off any of the concepts that we trained during the off season. Because as we know, off-season training is going to look a lot different than our in-season training, no matter who is running the weight room or the speed program or the conditioning program. It's probably going to look different because of time constraints, focuses, priorities, et cetera, et cetera. So we just have simple weekly checklists that we've put together for our coaches here of concepts that we're just trying to hit on a consistent basis. So I know I listened to Dan Mullins' talk with y'all on here, and he talked some about the force velocity curve. So there's different concepts that we know when we're trying to develop student athletes is along this force velocity curve. Where a lot of our training happens that I see kind of out in the world is this maximum strength level. We want to be big and strong, so we're going to train to be big and strong. But what that doesn't hit is that velocity component of being fast and explosive. So curbing my training in order to hit all these concepts that we see of maximum strength, strength, speed, speed, strength, and maximum speed is extremely important for our kids across their careers. So at first, when we get a freshman, when we get a young kid, probably maximum strength and strength speed concepts are really important to us in our program because we want to develop force. But as we get later in our careers and we have a good level of strength, a base level of strength, then we can start to move into speed, strength, and maximum speed in order to have our athletes performing at a higher level. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do to train maximum strength and strength speed, but there's a lot of simple things that you can do in order to increase your velocity. So hopefully what I'm trying to do is take this force velocity curve and move it to our right and move it up as well. So being able to produce more force at a higher velocity, what we can kind of take as momentum. There's a big difference, and I work with one of our offensive linemen right now who's if he stays on the track that he's going, he's going to have kind of a blank scholarship offer to wherever he goes. He's a sophomore, 6'5", 295 pounds. He runs over 19 miles per hour. And in a spread offense, being able to move through space is really, really important. But if I put that kid underneath a bar and just train maximum strength the whole time, yes, he's going to get stronger. Yes, he's going to get bigger. But is he going to be a better mover for us? Probably not. So being able to train these concepts that we see near the bottom of speed, strength, and maximum speed is important to us, especially when developing proper athletes for our systems. So going into, there's probably three levels or three main focuses that we train in our student athletes: acceleration, deceleration, and maximum velocity, aka top end speed. And we'll kind of go through of how we train those throughout the season, throughout the off season, and just simple things that you can do in order to check those boxes that we'll kind of talk about at the end. So for us, acceleration, so being able to basically be from a stop and accelerate, like hit the gas pedal on your car. So for us, acceleration can be trained daily in our athletes because it's not that taxing throughout. Acceleration can be multiplanar, meaning it can happen in all different directions. People want this quote unquote sport specific training, and we can argue that really anything is sport specific training if you understand movement. But we know the game of football, and really any game that you ever play, is not in a straight line outside of track and field. So we have to be able to train acceleration in multi-planes. So being able to run 5 yards and then break 90 degrees or break 45 degrees, 30 degrees is probably something pretty important. So when we look at even a dog running through an obstacle course, being able to put foot in the ground and get back in different directions efficiently is going to hopefully give our guys chances to be more efficient movers and make the rest of the sport easier. So to check the box of what we consider peak acceleration, so maximum level acceleration, the majority of our high school athletes will reach that within 10 to 12 yards. So when we're thinking of drills that we can do in order to train peak acceleration is max effort 15 to 20 yard sprints. What we see with high school kids, college kids, especially males, they do not want to lose. They will never want to be the outlier. So being able to do even just proper chase games or just flat out races with the guy next to you of maximum effort is extremely important to us, and stuff that will end most of our warm-ups during the week as well as in game and at halftime is max effort 15 to 20 yard sprints. I want our guys to feel like they're straining maximally and sprinting as hard as they can, because when we get into the game and they're not ready to sprint, aka give maximum effort because their system is not primed for it, then we're going to be kind of lacking and may not be as successful. So really, if you just want really simple things, make a chase game, make a race, make sure it's max effort, and give the guys proper rest by just letting them walk back, not letting it turn into conditioning, which we'll kind of talk about at the end as well. Plyometrics in different planes, broad jumps are really, really good for that. Lateral bounds and jumps, just to give like a little bit different of direction. I'll put my contact info at the end. I will gladly send videos of our guys doing a lot of different things, especially laterally. Med ball throw variations are kind of sprinkled across social media. Olympic lifting. Us at RJKL, we do not Olympic lift. We use some level of Olympic derivatives, but we do much more loaded and weighted jumps. It's not that I don't believe in Olympic lifting. You'll find coaches on kind of either end of the spectrum, but for us, it's a time and space constraint. I have a 2,300 square foot weight room, and if I got 70 football guys trying to train at the same time on 10 racks, 10 platforms, probably not very safe because we have to flow the room a certain way. And if I got a 6'5", 295-pound kid, he's going to take up a little bit more space that we may not be able to Olympic lift really, really well. So for us, loaded and weighted jumps, we use our trap bars and even dumbbells to kind of help us along that line. Reverse lunges are really, really good for that, and other unilateral work, especially vertically, like dumbbell step-ups, is stuff that we do in our off season, but then in our in-season programs as well, as long as our volume is kind of proper. Distance-based skips and bounds. I like skips for distance. Our guys haven't gotten to a bounding because they can kind of be, they're tough to teach for me. And if you don't feel comfortable teaching it and conveying it to your student athletes, then you can kind of leave some stuff on the table. Sprint transitions is the last drill that we do. We do those a lot during the off season to create rhythm in our athletes, create comfortability. So for us, it's skip into a sprint, a jog into a sprint, and even a walk into a sprint. We want our guys to create body lean in order to kind of expose themselves to the little things that they're going to be exposed to in their sport. So being able to transition throughout, and as well as it's less taxing from going 0 to 60. And I'll gladly share like kind of any of these things after if you reach out. Now moving into deceleration. Deceleration is getting a lot of kind of screen time now because it can be considered kind of like the missing piece of the puzzle. So proper eccentric control, eccentric meaning the lowering and the slowing down of an exercise, can lead us to better force dissipation, aka absorption. How can I absorb force? How can I take a hit? Because yeah, we can argue that there's some injuries that happen non-contact, but especially in the sport of football, a lot of our injuries happen with contact. But if I'm able to better dissipate that force, absorb that force, hopefully I'm decreasing my chances of injury. So I always say, like, you wouldn't put $10 brakes on a $100,000 sports car. If I go to Ferrari and buy myself a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and then I mosey on down to Toyota and I take Prius's brakes, it's probably going to be a little bit different because the engine ain't going to take it and the brakes aren't going to be able to do well enough. So yeah, I can train speed it, but if I don't complement the brakes on the other end as well, I'm going to be kind of missing a piece of a puzzle in my training. So how can we train deceleration? So we have max sprints and max deceleration, which we can kind of see with the video on the bottom with some of our guys. A little bit of a change of direction, sprinting out, decelerating on the 10-yard line. We're doing it as a group right now, just working on really slowing themselves down. When I'm sprinting, I don't want to hear it. When I'm decelerating, I want to hear it. AKA, I want to put force in the ground to decelerate. If I'm putting force in the ground and I'm super, super loud running with elephant feet, that means I'm decelerating. And if I'm working on sprinting, that's probably not a good thing. So max sprints into max deceleration, whether that be they know that they're stopping on a line, we much more like whistle-based deceleration. So starting their sprint, starting max effort sprinting, and then when I blow my whistle, the guys know that they're stopping. For the most part, I want our guys to be able to stop in 3 to 4 steps. Some guys got to take a little bit more longer than that, depending on how high of a speed that they go to. Obviously, if I'm running only sprinting 5 yards and then decelerating, it's not going to be as taxing as sprinting 20 yards and decelerating. Depth and altitude drop, so just dropping down from a box is really, really good. And then you can work jumps off of that. Eccentric focus, weightlifting movements. So the Nordic hamstring curl has gotten like a lot of love lately. And I think if they're not in your program, start doing them. That helps us protect our knees and the undaunting, I'm going to knock on wood here, of the torn ACL that can plague high school kids, college kids, NFL players, et cetera, et cetera. Balance training is a big part of it as well. The more stability, the better we are able to handle deceleration. If I'm able to dissipate force better because I'm balanced and more stable, hopefully I'm going to stay healthy. Flip the acceleration and deceleration that we kind of saw in the video that was playing at the bottom of the screen. So now we're going to move into the concept that I love the most and what I think sets our program apart when we're kind of talking about speed. So maximum velocity, aka the highest miles per hour that we can run. So this is where our track system comes into play. The difference between max velocity and maximum velocity and acceleration is really the body lean, aka there's more vertical forces than acceleration qualities, as well as you're going to be heavy, aka creating that body lean to start that we see kind of on the left side of the top side of the graph here. And then as we get to upright, we're going to be able to, like I said before, pull away from defenses per se. So being able to accelerate, hit a hole, get to upright, and then we're running really, really fast because we're limiting our ground contact time. We're not spending a whole lot of time, and we're just extending and pulling away from the team that we're playing against. Being able to take a slant route, split the safeties, and just go, which our guys did a pretty damn good job of this past year. But the excuse that I see and the excuse that I hear all the time but is like, Coach, we never get there. So why would we train maximum velocity? And I'll caveat this slide by saying that I'm a max velocity believer. There's many different ways to skin a cat. There's many different ways to get there. For us, and what we've seen is these main concepts has helped our speed program develop. It's helped set our guys apart, as well as level the playing field and brought skill to guys that may not always have that skill. So sure, we can say that we're never going to run 40 yards in a straight line. The 40-yard dash, for the most part, maybe not the best test. But for us, we still have to expose our guys to that. So if and when they take that screen route and they want to pull away from a defense, we know that their bodies are ready, their muscles are ready, their mind is ready in order to kind of take that. So for us, improving top speed improves acceleration. So a quote from Cam Joss, who's a strength coach, I believe, still at Indiana University. Small advancements in maximum velocity can lead to large changes across the entire acceleration profile. So if we can kind of convert that top speed is much like maximal strength. So if I increase my 1 rep max, the heaviest weight that I can lift, lifting 80% of that is going to feel easier. 90% of that is going to feel easier, or that number is also going to go up. So if my 100% is 100 pounds, my 80% is 80 pounds for that. It's either going to feel easier, I can get more reps with it, or I can increase in order to kind of treat the top side. Increasing top speed can also enhance conditioning by running more efficiently and being able to run at a higher speed, where, sure, a lot of the game of football is between 60 and 80% of our top speed. That's where most of our guys kind of sit, and that's where most of our reps get. But if and when we got to open up and train that 100%, I want our guys to be really, really efficient and should come easy to them. So going back to, if I'm increasing my 100%, my 80% is going to feel easier, my 70% is going to feel easier, my 60% is going to feel easier. So then if I'm making stuff feel easier, I can enhance my conditioning, I can train differently, I can open our guys up to different things, which is a concept called speed reserve, which was coined by Charlie Francis. If you're interested in it, I will gladly send you any of the research and kind of like explain it to you. But same concept of increase 100%, 80% becomes easier. The game of football or whatever game we're playing will become easier. And then finally, max velocity training reduces lower body soft tissue injury. The better mechanics and the higher speeds that we expose our guys to, the healthier our guys are going to be. So we just talked about Nordic curls with deceleration training. And some people will think that hamstring strength, because hamstring, and we try to limit pulled hamstrings with our guys because of the best ability is availability. Nordics cannot expose our kids to the proper levels that sprinting can, or reach as many levels as sprinting. So there was a research done back in 2020, soccer players for 6 weeks, their muscles got thicker, their muscles got longer, their muscles got more powerful, and then because of their sprinting as well, they got 3.4% faster. So sure, we can say that you can develop speed in the weight room, but if you're not developing speed outside the weight room by doing max effort sprinting, doing some of the drills here of longer sprints, most over 30 yards, greater than 30 yards, which is what you need in order to expose your guys to higher velocities. Flying tens, which is if I'm starting on the goal line, I have, okay, between the 20 and the 30, you're going to be at your maximum speed, and you're going to try to sustain that. They have 20 yards in order to build up. That would be considered a flying 10. You can do a variance of distances with that. Overspeed training, aka bands assisted, is really important. And then skips for height is just something that complements our program and kind of our prep system before we get a whole lot of max velocity running. So the question that I get most when talking about max velocity is, when should you do it? And I put the GIF that says always, but we know that the human body can't necessarily sustain that. So for us, the way that we go about it is Tuesdays is kind of where we need to perform our best. Monday is usually an install day. Tuesday is a little bit heftier of a practice. Wednesdays, you kind of hone in on your concepts, and then Thursday walk through, play on Friday night. So for us, at the end of our warm-up on Tuesdays, at the end of our dynamic warm-up, we have our guys run 2 40-yard races. You can run them as a whole entire group. You can split them in positions, whatever fits in your program. But it's a 40-yard race. And what I'm trying to just do is check that box, exposing our guys to running as fast as possible on a regular basis. And I need to do that weekly, which we'll kind of get into with the checklist kind of stuff. So acceleration can and should be trained daily. We can kind of say that football kind of checks that box naturally, but just ending your warm up with some level of sprinting, max effort sprinting, don't be last, is important. Deceleration, on the other end, is part of the sport. So add balance and eccentric training into a weight room program in order to kind of check off that box. I think a lot of people are doing a lot better with that. But then our main concept of maximum velocity should be trained 1 to 2 times a week. So for us, Tuesday is kind of when we tried to check that box. And then hopefully on Friday nights, we're checking that box as well. So for us, 93% of our top speed needs to be hit weekly. We have GPS monitors that help our guys kind of check that. You can do it with laser timers, but if you're low budget and you can't afford those things, I promise you, if you run 2 40-yard dashes, let your guys walk back at the start of practice on a Monday or a Tuesday and let them run another one and just let them open up, you're going to kind of check that box because of the effort in which your guys are going to put into it. You can kind of tell when a guy is slacking. So as long as you have a good culture of effort, you're going to kind of check that box whether you're tracking it or not. Because the beautiful thing about high school kids, and I'm speaking more so to the high school coaches here, between puberty, nutrition, proper programming, there's no room for them not to develop. The best steroid in the world, the best developer in the world to the teenage male is puberty. Is the difference between 14 and 18-year-olds. If I'm just giving them the proper doses of just really, really simple things, really, really checkbox things, I'm going to be able to develop kind of throughout, because there's always going to be this overlying and underlying theme of puberty. Complementing it with nutrition, which is much more so on the parents, but teenage boys are going to eat. And then proper program on your end as a coach. You're going to be able to develop your kids no matter what your background is, no matter what technology you have or don't have. And it's going to hopefully just make your program better throughout, just by doing really, really simple things, really, really low reps to check that box. So now kind of like the data without the data. So like I said before, I spent some time at the University of Buffalo, and we had a running back there who was a no scholarship offer kid. He was a kid that we recruited to Buffalo, frankly, because we were recruiting his twin brother who played middle linebacker for us. So for us, we didn't really have the ability to have true data. University of Buffalo being a group of 5, the budget isn't always great. The football program was still building when this was still relatively kind of in the middle of Leipold's career at University of Buffalo, but we had Jarrett Patterson. So we just had these concepts. We had laser timers, so we were able to time flying 10s. But the same thing, usually on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, we would have our guys get 40-yard races. It was adaptable because Maction going to Akron on a Tuesday night is a little bit different. But he was able to have a really, really successful career, really, really healthy, as well as came just short of breaking the single game rushing record, which you see the highlights now, and now has been able to move on to the NFL. We kept him really, really healthy. And when your top guy is as healthy as possible throughout the year, throughout no matter how many games you play, it's probably really important to you as a football coach to keep your guys on the field, keep your guys healthy, and keep the top of the top at the top. So now going into being able to have the data. So we had catapults at Cannon School. We have Titan sensors and catapults here at Ardrey-Kell. So I worked with a running back named Will Jones. He's a current junior, so moving into his senior year. His sophomore year ran for over 2,500 yards and 33 total touchdowns, which is pretty substantial. So in February 2021, his top speed was 19.22 miles per hour. If you know any of the miles per hour, the way we kind of grade it is, if you're over 20, you're pretty good. If you're over 21, that's really good. And you'll see some of the elite level high school football players be able to break 22. So he was pretty young as a sophomore, still going through puberty. So February 2021, 19.22 miles per hour. July 2021, 20.26. But then the state championship game set a top speed PR, personal best for him, at 20.81 miles per hour. He set a top speed PR 5 times in game throughout the year. So if you're saying is 100% got better in a game 5 times throughout the year when you're playing 12 to 14, usually to win a state title, it's probably a pretty good thing for you as a coach. So being able to have these concepts where we ran 40-yard races on Tuesdays, and then played on Friday nights, led us to a state title and kept our guys really, really healthy. So being able to PR on Friday nights is probably pretty important and pretty awesome thing to kind of look back on as a strength coach, or if you're a football coach that's able to have GPS units and technology. You love watching the guys set their personal best, especially on a Friday. But the biggest concept, and I think the biggest success for us when I was at Cannon School, is this data point right here. 0 missed plays for soft tissue injuries. We were a smaller program. I believe we had 34 guys on a varsity sideline, a smaller private school. Was relatively new to football. They had only just started football a couple years before I got there. We had a couple good guys, but we played teams that had much better prospects, were much bigger, much more athletic, but we had to level the playing field. So having these concepts that we were able to train on a consistent basis led us to this. So 0 amount of missed plays for soft tissue injuries. A couple broken arms, we had 1 rolled ankle, but for the most part, we were really, really healthy. And when you only have a certain amount of depth where a lot of your guys are going 2 ways, a lot of your guys don't have really replacements that are going to hold their own, at least to the same level, the best ability is availability. So when we had 0 missed plays for soft tissue injuries, we ended up winning a state title in 2021. Will they ever get back there? Sure. Is every single team going to be able to have zero soft tissue injuries? No. But if you take these concepts, I promise you're going to be able to develop your kids and keep them healthy throughout the year. If you keep your guys healthy and you complement that with good coaching, I hope that you bring more success to your program and be able to have more success in your program. So kind of a really fast overview, not really into the nitty-gritty details of sets and reps, but I think any speed program, there's just a lot of just general concepts that you need to understand that I hope that I hit on, and I'm gladly field any questions from you, Coach. But for us, like, always remember that we are stimulus coaches, not movement coaches. If I'm able to train speed, there's a lot of different ways to do it. It's not necessarily something that's a specific movement, but if they're never exposed to it, they're never prepared for it. I try to post a lot on social media, just trying to help coaches, and I'm all ears to anyone who reaches out to me. So that's my Twitter and Instagram. I'm much more coaches education on Twitter. Instagram's just kind of personal, but sometimes I'll post some videos of our guys training, and then that's my email as well. And then I have my LLC online of jaxathleticperformance.com. So if you ever just want to reach out to me, please feel free. I'm all ears, always welcome. And then if you're in North Carolina or the north side of South Carolina, because we're right on the border in Charlotte, my room is always open. Coaches come and visit me. It's a great way for me to learn when people ask questions and want to learn, as well as I want to learn about you. I think the coaching community is amazing because you have so many guys that want to learn. They want to be the best versions of themselves because it'll allow their kids to be the best versions of themselves as well. So appreciate you having me on, Coach. And
yeah, we want to have you back on, man. We want to have you back on. I'd like to have you on next week, whatever you want to talk about. Are you doing any clinics? Are you going anywhere to speak?
Yep. I will be at the NHSSCA Pennsylvania State Clinic at the end of March. It's the last Saturday of March at William Penn Charter School up in Pennsylvania. I'll be taking a long weekend with that. And I'm actually talking about our speed program. So just different concepts that just simple focuses that we have in order to kind of train our athletes to be really, really good. So that's at the end of March. And then I'll be speaking in the Raleigh area at the end of April. But I mean, whenever you want to have me on, I got class coverage today, but
yeah, maybe after you get done speaking in March, I don't know if your one in March, April is going to be the same presentation. It might be, but once you present, at those places, come back on and present that information. Because, I mean, the more coaches that we can get this information to, I mean, we had a major ACL injury that affected our season. We still went to the regional championship and lost to the state champions, but anything we can do to prevent injuries, prevent ACL tears. I mean, man, I want to learn more about that, man. I don't like learning about knee injuries or head or neck injuries. So
there's some tremendous coaches out there that like have taken these concepts and kept our guys really, really healthy, but you can't stop everything from happening. But like usually like it takes one to open your eyes.
It was on a horse collar on a touchdown. The guy was running out of the back of the end zone on a field turf field. I mean,
that's like the hard part too, is like when you watch these kids like on a horse collar on a penalty play or like a dirty play,
and they didn't call a penalty.
Like you feel so bad.
Oh, I know, man. And they didn't even call a penalty, but I'm very, very impressed with you, Coach. How old are you?
So I am 26.
Man, you're very, very impressive. Very impressive. You know, we've only been doing this podcast as a coach's clinic for a month. We've done 80 episodes in about a month, and so impressed with you. I mean, golly, dude, you're only 26. Your best coaching's ahead of you. And I hope I'm here in 10, 20 years to hear you speak, because, I mean, you're just going to keep getting better and better, man. So I just want to tell you, I'm so impressed. You're going to change kids' lives. You're going to help get them to the next level, and you're going to build champions for life. So thank you for coming on, Coach. We're going to have you back on whenever you want. But thank you, brother. If anybody has any questions, we got Coach's Twitter down there. There's his contact information. Anything else you want to say to the clinic, Coach, before we sign off?
No, just appreciate it, and really appreciate you having me on. Having like kind of like the Virginia connection.
Yeah,
Virginia connection was nice, but
Lynchburg.
I'm all ears. Will gladly help. Like I'll send any program to any person, any questions that y'all have. Like I want to be a resource. I eventually want to be able to do more things like this, of teaching coaches what I've learned and what I've seen as myself as an athlete, no matter what my age is. I think that being able to compete at a high level was important to me, and then taking those concepts of what I learned within myself and then going into the sports performance route of complementing of why stuff happens and how stuff happens. I love this experience, and I love getting on these things just to be an open resource, and as well as just put Ardrey Kell on the map of putting our kids out there. And like I think we have the best kids in the country, and I think if
y'all played in the state championship? Did y'all play in the I just saw something about on there. The kid ran 21 in the state championship, 21 miles per hour.
Yeah, so that was at my last stop at Camden School. So that was 2021. I got here to Ardrey Kell. So we beat Harrell's Christian in the state championship game. Smaller private school, kind of out really middle of nowhere in North Carolina. But no, we got a tough draw first round. We played Mallard Creek High School first round. So yeah, Mallard Creek usually
that's like playing Holland Springs.
Most people know that. So we lost in the conference championship, or what we can coin as a conference championship. Obviously, there's no tournament of that, which affected our seeding. And Mallard Creek's a tough draw, but I mean 4A West Region in North Carolina is stacked.
Yeah. So who won it? Who won it at 4A?
Who did win it? I think was it Grimsley that won it?
I don't know. It's like South Carolina, man. It ain't like many states. Like it's always somebody different. Like we had Bobby Bentley. Bobby Bentley. I don't know how many he won at Burns, but it's always somebody different, man. I guess it's like down there.
South Carolina, and it's growing, because especially like the Charlotte area and even the Raleigh area, and then the cities in South Carolina, like they're growing so fast. Like I'm from the North. I'll talk smack on the North any day.
Yeah,
people that want to get out of there. I
don't blame you either, man.
Yeah,
I don't go north of Ashland.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know where Ashland is, but I don't go north of Ashland.
Yeah, my wife's from Pennsylvania, so we always headed back up there for holidays. And once I'm there for like 2 days, I'm like, I'm good. Like, let's
Yeah,
go.
time to go
Let's go
back.
back.
We
Watch
got
the
we got more
sunset.
viewers now, man. We got people jumping on. If you got any questions for Coach, you better hit him up. He's got to go to class. I got to go to class here in a little bit. But Coach,
Yeah,
man,
I got time.
okay, so you
I don't know
know,
if we got any
I
questions
think
that
it's
come
pretty
in.
cool your background because you're a baseball player and you wrestled and you played football and you've been with the basketball staffs and you've been a baseball player. And now you're working with the football program. You know, I think that makes you more of a commodity. You know,
Mhm.
because you've played all these different things and man, speed. People do not understand, you know, especially if you're at a school that doesn't have a lot of fast guys, that a coach like yourself, you can actually make your guys faster, you know,
Mhm.
to be able to at least be able to compete. I mean, to play a Mallard Creek, I mean, I know they're loaded. So when you come back on, what would you want to talk about next time, Coach?
So I mean, like I can, I mean, hell, we could set up like some video cameras. I can kind of talk through like some coaching points, kind of like like different like cues of how we teach speed.
Yeah,
I think is important because like today we kind of like cover the concepts. So there's probably a lot of questions of like, okay, how do I go about like teaching a kid how to run faster? Um, so I can kind of like do a little bit more of like a hands-on session, even
yeah,
too, that or even like I could pull one of my athletes out of class and like I can kind of like show the different things that we work on, the different drills, or if I can take videos. Like I'm pretty flexible with stuff.
yeah. Or
I'm an
we could
open
go
book.
live at practice, or whenever you have a boy there, you know, to work them out and you know, show what you're talking about. That'd be great, man. We just go live, and
Yeah,
another kid could video it. You know.
yeah, yeah. Like I so like first block for like we start school at 7:15. So like I'm like the baseball coach and football coach are covering my classes for me to be on. But
That's
like
cool, man.
we do speed almost every morning right now because our guys.
What
I
time do
get
y'all do that in the mornings?
So usually like 7:30, 7:45, like I'm usually up at the turf. So like I can I got some girls in the class that would
Yeah, that's cool.
gladly
Yeah,
video
yeah.
and
Just
I
tell
can
me
kind
what
of
day you want to do it because we start school at 8:30, but I don't have a first period, so really I go till 9:30. So
yeah.
yeah, man, I think that would be cool. I don't think that's ever been done that I know of. You know, to do a live stream when a coach is coaching actually what they're teaching. You know, and have, I mean, you use an iPhone, like these things right here, man. These things right here that you
Yeah.
plug in, these would be great because you
Okay.
could have the mic on, and then you know, I think it's like these are like $20, man. You're young, you know what these are. You know, I mean, I'm 44, man. I'll be 44. I'm 45. I can't even believe I have a podcast. I mean, I
Yeah.
had Jim McNally.
I
It
know.
took
I was
took me an
following that.
hour. It took me an hour just to change 2 pictures on his Twitter and change his name from Jim McNally 578354 to Coach McNally OL. He said no one else in America has been able to teach him to use Twitter. But
Yeah.
now he's on, Coach, and it's big time. I
Yeah.
mean, he's blowing up, man. And
No,
he
there's some people that just hammer like I try to like take as much videos and like hammer content out to help coaches as possible, but then like I always go back of like, well, damn, I'm on my effing phone so much that I'm not even coaching. But like
Yeah, you're right.
I just love watching our guys too sometimes. Like I love taking videos and like going back and be like, man, look at this. Like this was awesome. And
Yeah.
so I think there's the balance of that too,
Yeah, so
I
just
think
let
is
me know. Let
important.
me know whenever you want to do it. I think the kids would like it, man. The kids would like it. Their folks would like it. You know,
Yeah.
they would watch it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty cool, man.
I probably had some students click on because I know I shared the link and
Mhm.
I know the
Well,
guys always get excited when we do this stuff because I know that they know that I won't talk smack on them too much on a national show, but
yeah, man. Well,
I still take stabs when I can.
yeah, we appreciate you coming on, Coach, and you know, look forward to having you back on. And thank you, brother. God bless you. Um, and good luck. You know, this season. But I know we'll see you before then, Coach.
Yep, for sure. Appreciate it, coach. Have a good
Thank you,
weekend.
brother.